What it is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Third Intermission Podcast. This is your boy Dave signing on for the evening. Follow us on the socials at Toronto Third and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast from. Of course, you got the king and the right hand of the king himself, aka the Fedora Man, aka the most sharply dressed man in hockey right now, Avery McDougal. I would call him Mr. Steer Your Girl, but everything's been kind of dry on the Western Front for him. So, like,
Hey,
folks, Avery's pissed right now. I know you can't see it, but like it is what it is. Like after you heard him cuss last week, um, not taking too many chances to just roast him, but
well
like
that got censored. Only you heard that. We censored that.
well, still you still cuss pretty hard, and it's like the fact that we had to use
Well,
censors on you,
it was for a good reason.
we knew it was for a good reason, but still the fact that we had to use censors on you of all people, that's kind of crazy.
Not wrong.
Anyways, man, how you doing?
I am doing well. I am doing well and living my life. Not afraid to walk down certain parts of downtown Toronto. I live my life unafraid of the waterfront in Toronto, Dave. Unlike
Yo,
some people.
for real, man. Like, yo, that's some dopey things right there. But Queens Quay is the most dangerous place downtown. Yo, it just sounds like you only season your meat with salt and pepper. That's it, guy.
That that was that again.
That's wild.
That was the most. I'm afraid of cities. Pull of you see in my life. Like Queens Key, really? You're scared of there? What are you scared of? Getting tackled by a golden doodle?
Being pushed in Lake Ontario by someone who's running. Like, really?
Well, you don't want to fall in that water. You don't want to fall in Lake Ontario.
True. True. I mean, after going to Ripley's like a few weeks ago, like I mean, obviously I've been there a good number of times, but like what's in the bottom of Lake Ontario is actually kind of scary.
I don't want to think about what's in that water. I don't want to know what's
Yo,
been in there for
the fact that we have like actual like solid fish in Lake Ontario is kind of crazy.
Yo, don't be fishing for that fish. Yo, I don't know. Yo, that fish gonna put you in the ER for at least a good week.
Maybe in like around Toronto, but like if you go like say west of that, say towards well, okay. In between like the Golden Horseshoe, I wouldn't go fishing. But like if you go east of that, say past the power plant, like I think you'd be okay. But in any event, we're talking hockey right now. And maybe a little baseball, considering that yeah, y'all might be Jays fans out there. So we got a great show lined up for you tonight. First things first, a little bit of something going on the financial front with MLSE and Rogers. Very big topic there. The Leaf Dem, of course, we're trying to keep our eyes on that situation. We're also going to look at a couple firings as well, including say Mitch Love with the Capitals, and then of course we are looking into another NHL debut this week. But let's go to I guess the hottest topic of the sporting world right now, which would be the World Series, and of course actually, before we dive into this, like I
Mm.
really hate the fact that we're calling it the World Series, even though it's like one Canadian team and 29 American teams, and all the players are either American, Japanese, Dominican, Spanish, or Canadian. Right? It is just it's kind of twisted at this point, and it's like now that you have so many other leagues, right? You have the Japanese professional league, you have the Korean league, you have the Chinese league. Um, I don't even know if there's a league in South America right now, but like,
Of course, South America. What do you mean? Of
I
course
mean,
there
like,
is.
I'm not entirely sure if there's a professional league in
Yes,
South
there
America.
are. There's plenty.
There's plenty.
Yes.
Right. Sorry. Excuse me. Like, I'm not trying to be ignorant. Like, I was just genuinely curious. Right. So it's like you can't really call it a World Series until it's like you get like, and like this is kind of a very weird thing for me to say, but like if you do it like say Champions League style, where it's like or like Club World Cup style, where it's like you get whoever wins Major League Baseball. It doesn't matter if it's Canadian or American. They'll go off and play like the Japanese team, or in the Korean team and the Chinese team and the South American teams, like or the winner of the South American leagues, and like I guess a winner take all type of thing. But like,
It's been done before, but not with MLB teams. It's been done before with teams in MILB, indie league teams. MLB teams will never. I mean, they'll do every once in a while their Japanese tours,
yeah,
and
the
so
the Japan series, yeah.
exactly they'll do that. But a series, actual series for keeps, no.
I
That's
don't
not
know. I
happening.
think you should at this point because it's like, look, if baseball is that global of a game, because it's like they're playing in Australia too. I forgot about them. I know there's a few spots in Europe that actually play baseball. Real talk though. I mean, like obviously it would be nice to have an actual World Series where it's just like you have a North American champion, a South American champion, African champion, European champion, Australian champion, an Asian champion, and then of course you get your two wild cards, and then bomb, there you go. There's your World Series right there. Anyways, I digress. First things first. Jays and Dodgers are tied at one apiece right now. Of course, we all became childhood fans for like a hot minute on Friday when Canada experienced its first World Series game since 1993, and there were a lot of Leaf fans who were kind of upset about the L that they took on Friday, but I would rather sacrifice that for a Jays World Series right now. And like honestly speaking, it's like there's nothing but like complete unity across the board right now, regardless of your hockey affiliation. Like it's it's great. I mean, there are those weird people in BC who happen to be Mariners fans, and it's just like, yo, listen, you took your L, a couple weeks ago. Stay where you are. But now I deal with you. Like this is Jay's country right here. One time, like, but I don't know. How are we feeling about this right now?
You know what? Game one, first of all, game one was fun because it was possible. I thought the Jays could have a chance of winning. I didn't see Toronto winning 11-4. That was a game where we saw again a lot of guys like Barger, like Kirk step up. And game two, though, Yamamoto stepping up. Yamamoto is one of the best pitchers on the baseball, so it wasn't shocked to me that he had a second complete game this postseason alone. And we know in baseball now, complete games are so rare. But
Yes, it is.
two complete games in the postseason now in this era of baseball, that doesn't happen. But I think we all knew this wasn't going to be a 4 or 5 game series. We knew this was going to be a battle between LA and Toronto.
Of course, and it's like I think the running storyline obviously is like the Jays every Jays series that every Jays World Series appearance, they've always lost the second game at home, or they've always lost the second game, and it's just playing right into the hands of everything. Now, of course, what I find insane is that there are fans out there who believe that, Toronto's a dangerous place. And I'm not going to lie, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. For example, there are fans out there who believe that Queens Quay is one of the most dangerous spots in Toronto. And I call bullshit on that. Because like I'm pretty sure you've been to downtown Toronto, and like there are some more dangerous, there are worse spots in the city than say Queens Quay. Queens Quay isn't that bad.
No, I mean, you're right. Like, don't get me wrong. Every major city, there are places to avoid in every major city. Doesn't matter if it's Toronto, Edmonton, Montreal, New York, Boston, LA. There are cities everywhere where you gotta avoid. You shouldn't be around there.
Yeah.
But the guy who tweeted that out after 'cause context, someone pointed out on Twitter about how Toronto looks beautiful on the Fox Sports drone shots. And
Yeah.
guy said, well, except for a few spots, and he mentioned Queen's Key. I thought to myself, like, buddy, that is the most yuppie, like financial bro, one of the financial bro spots in the city. That's a yoga instructor part of town who walks her dash hound at 3 p.m. on a Friday. Ain't
Right.
nothing bad going down that part of Toronto. Ain't nothing
Exactly.
bad.
Like I
Ain't
mean
nothing bad
maybe
happening there.
maybe in like the early 90s, but like again, this is like 30 years. Like Toronto's developed so much since then. And like I had to respond and say like, yo, you've barely tasted anything outside of salt and pepper, like salt and pepper on your food, and that's just messed. Why would you even say something like that, especially when like the entire baseball world is coming to our yard and saying like, "Yo, Toronto's a beautiful city. Stop trying to be a fear mongering friggin' loser from not even Burlington, a loser from like God
Thunder
knows
Bay.
where in Manitoba, and you're moving to Toronto for the first time." Like,
I don't. I don't know. The worst thing that ever happened to me was being a long line and go on the ferry to Toronto Island. That's been the worst part happened to me in that part of the city. Like,
honestly, that ferry is questionable at times, but like, you know what? Like, two is like a Swift ferry to Center Island or Toronto Island is actually proper. Even
yeah,
then, there there's worse things than being stuck on the Toronto ferry. There's much worse things than Queen's Quay. There's even worse than saying being stuck at the Spadina and Queen McDonald's at 1 o'clock in the morning.
well, as we all know, elbows up, and I'm not talking about
Exactly.
Carney.
But
In that
like,
McDonald's, yo.
yeah.
Although I've said it before, I've seen not at that McDonald's in Toronto. I have seen a fight break out of McDonald's in Toronto at 9:30 in the morning, and not in the different McDonald's in Toronto downtown.
Oh, trust me, the King and Bathurst one is also just as notorious. So, but again, like I said, there are much worse things in Toronto, and it's like it's not even in the downtown core. It's like in the north end, like the north ends or the east ends or the west ends, and it's like even then, it's like it's tame compared to like certain heavy spots. I think we all know for unanimous purposes, Sherbourne and Dundas is one area that most people want to avoid.
And it was just I just don't know what guy was trying to accomplish because again, and I know we laugh about it. I know we've all laughed about so many people in the U.S. media who are coming to see Toronto, and it's kind of funny because, I mean, in hockey media, it's not a thing because hockey reporters, no matter if you're American or Canadian, they are in Canada often enough to know how Toronto and Canada works. But
Exactly.
the baseball media, the fact that a lot of them, and there are exceptions, guys like Clinton Yates, Jeff Passan, know what Toronto's about. But the guys like like of course like the John Heymans and whatever's, those guys who come to Toronto and say, "Oh wow, Toronto is cool." Like, dude, you cover Major League Baseball, and you didn't
You
come to
ignore the Jays.
Toronto
You
for a
ignore the Jays.
decade. Like, and now you see it's funny because these are the same people, Dave, who were saying, Toronto can't attract this. Why would you go to Toronto? And now that they're spending extended time in the city this fall, I'm seeing in real time. Opinions change. They're like, oh, it's nice here. Oh, I didn't know. Well, if you actually came here more often, you would see it's not what you were spouting off earlier.
Exactly. And like you're seeing baseball influencers both on Instagram and well, basically on social media, like practically glazing the city of Toronto. Not to use slang terms, not to use Generation Alpha slang terms, but it is what it is at this point. Like the fact that they're falling in love with this city and the food and the culture and the atmosphere is just downright insane because like none of these people would ever come up here during the summer. And it's like now that they know that this place exists and not the magical igloo land that's in the back of their minds, it's crazy because what makes it even worse is that like say if most of these folks were here for Caravana, trust me, they would want to stay here.
Yo,
They
I
would
don't know.
genuinely want to stay here.
I don't know if they would be able to handle a Caravana.
You
Most
never
of these
know,
some of these
man.
people. I don't know if some. I don't know. I don't think John Heyman will be able to handle getting bubbled. I don't know if he'll be able to handle that.
You never know, man. I mean, some Americans are seasoned. That's all I'm gonna say.
I don't all the baseball reporters. I don't know. I don't know. They might. No, no. They might. I don't think some of them are built to jump and wave.
I don't know. They'll probably be out here catching boots and hearts one time, but like still.
Oh, brother.
Hey, man. I mean, most baseball fans are country fans too, right?
I
So,
mean, not wrong, but the fact that you ran right to boots and hearts off Caravanas.
hey, man, it's all the same weekend still. So,
You ever gone to Boots and Hearts? You ever gone down there?
Nah, man, that's kind of not my thing.
The listeners will not be catching Dave there in cowboy boots and a St. Lucian colored cowboy hat.
I don't know, man. I mean, brothers are out there. Brothers are out there at Boots and Hearts, man, because they know country people do can throw down. I mean, I know this firsthand, but like, still, I don't know, man. You might not catch me there. You might catch me, say, at a next festival or something, but like, you're not catching me at Boots and Hearts. In any event, um, obviously at the time of this recording right now, series is tied at one. Game three goes down Monday. Game four is on Tuesday, and then game five, when our episode drops, will be on Wednesday. So of course, we're gonna keep an eye on everything. Obviously, we're very excited to see what happens next. It's now a best of five between the two teams, and like honestly, we're pulling for the Jays as much as possible. The only problem is that like Avery doesn't know what Jays gear is, and I'm the only one who does right now.
I've had Jay's gear before, but it's old. Like it's kid size stuff. Like, again, I haven't bought Jay's gear in
You know,
years.
you can fit in it, no problem, man. I mean, you're
Dude, you don't see my
fucking
biceps,
small.
like, dude. I will bust out of friggin' gear if I put that.
Yo, yo, we make a second World Series. I'm buying you a jersey. It'll be kids extra large though. So
Kids extra. Oh, listen here. You watch it, yo. Kids extra large. Listen here. I'll bench press you.
really, you bench press me. You bench press me, dog. You barely look like you could lift a plate of chicken. Calm down.
Listen, look to be deceiving.
Okay, fine. You look like you could lift maybe two buckets of chicken, but that's it.
Like I said, yo, keep talking.
This man's wild. All right. Anyways, on behalf of the crew, let's go Blue Jays. Let's bring it home. Let's bring home number three, Bun Otani, Bun Yamamoto. Um, the only two people that I mess with are Teoscar and Freeman. That's it. Actually, yo, before we move on, dead ass, like
Yo.
that Team Canada lineup would have been dirty had Vladdy and Bo both played for Team Canada.
Wait, why is Bo's Brazilian? Bro's background is he plays for Team Brazil, Bo.
Yeah, because his mom's Brazilian. His dad's technically Canadian. So
What? Dante Bishop? What? Dante Bishop's American.
is he? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's
Never mind.
American.
I mean,
Yo,
technically speaking, he does have citizenship here, doesn't he?
Bo, I don't think Bo does though. Where are you? What are you? Yo, Dave's wilding right now.
No. Like, I mean, here's the
Dave's
thing,
giving
right?
fictional citizenship to people out here.
Hey, man. I mean, I don't know. Like, apparently, Bo was eligible to play for Team Canada at one point. So you never know. Apparently, Vladdy is playing for the Dominican, although he can technically play for Team Canada if he wants to. But I don't know. We still need some solid ballers for the World Baseball Classic, but with the way things are going south of the border right now, we're not sure what's going to pop off at this point. But we'll keep an eye on everything here. All right, moving on to the financial news, and of course, normally we don't talk about stuff like this, but this is a very serious thing. And of course, if you're a Leafs fan, if you're a Leafs fan, you'll definitely want to pay attention to this. If you're also a Raptors fan, a Jays fan, or a TFC fan, or basically just a fan of Toronto sports, I think you need to listen to this and like just understand what's coming. So, a financial report came out, or sorry, a financial press release came out earlier this week. And of course, for those of you who happen to be Leafs and Raptors fans primarily, Rogers currently, right now, owns 75% of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. As of this moment, they are looking to purchase and acquire the remaining 25%, meaning that Rogers will officially and fully own MLSC if all goes well as of July 1st, 2026. Of course, right now the last 25% is still being owned by Kilmer Sports, which is owned by Larry Tannenbaum, and Omer's, which is I'm not entirely sure what they do at this point, but they are an Ontario-based company. and they currently retain the last 5%. If this sale goes through, Edward Rogers will officially become chairman of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, and also the the primary proprietor and owner of Rogers Communications. Now, of course, looking back at everything here in Canada, obviously you're trying to sit here and wonder, like, is it really that necessary for one particular corporation, which is Rogers Communications, to not only hold a television network, a telecommunications network, various naming rights across the country, including Edmonton and Vancouver, and now potentially the biggest, if not like like the most powerful sport and entertainment company in all of Canada, and of course MLSC being a top 500 company. Like, that is something that not only screams, like, say, potential problems, but it also screams it. I don't know. This may sound a little dramatic coming from me, but like this feels a little bit more like, say, the death of like potential Toronto sports at this point. And that's the thing that frightens me a little bit because as a fan, we already see with the Blue Jays, like Rogers owns the Blue Jays outright. And it's only recently that, say, the Jays have started contending because Rogers is willing to pony up the money. Now that, say, there's a potentiality for Rogers to own every single men's sports team within let me rephrase that, men's professional sports team within Southern Ontario, it really begs the question, um, why are there no other investors stepping up in the situation?
Well, I think it isn't every single one, but it's the biggest ones. But I think the big factor is that sports is expensive. Sports is an endeavor that even more so now, only if you can afford to invest in. And unfortunately, if you're in Ontario, no one else has the funds right now or is interested in competing with Rogers. That's why they are making this play or can make this play to control all of MLSC. It's a thing where you don't want one company having that much power in sports in Canada, but
Yeah,
really, who else is going to step up? And really, I don't know because again, we've heard the rumblings on Bell's side. I've heard it for a while. I've heard for a while that Bell wants to get out of the sports game. Bell wants to leave the sports and TV and radio game. I mean, we've seen it before already. How many stations Bell has shut down? The rumors that keep coming up that TSN is going to be up for sale eventually. I've heard, yeah, Bell wants to get out, and again, this is a rich person's game being involved in sports. And in Canada, we don't have the uber investors who want to buy into the NHL or NBA. We don't have the kind of money in Canada for individuals. We really don't, in large part.
it's extremely unfortunate because it's like now it's like if Rogers fails, there's nobody else to pick up the slack. And then, say it feels like we're basically at a crossroads now where it's like if there are no investors available to pick up, say, the slack of like a Toronto Maple Leafs a stake in the Toronto Maple Leafs or a stake in the Toronto Raptors or a stake in Toronto FC or whatever, it could potentially mean a number of things like relocation, contraction.
Hold on. There's too much money in. Like, there's no those teams are going anywhere. Those teams are
Obviously
making too much
not, but
money.
like I mean,
Money that never consider going away.
it's a huge possibility, right? Is what I'm saying, right?
I wouldn't even say that because again, you're talking about these teams. I mean, if these teams were not making money, the teams were struggling.
Hmm.
Okay, sure, but these teams are all billion-dollar assets in Toronto and inside Ontario. They're good. It's just my thing is like you would want some competition because that is good for the city. That's good for. Oops, hang on one second there. That is good for the sports ecosystem if you have more than one entity playing that game. But
Which is
Rogers,
fair.
yeah, like, but only Rogers has this kind of capital to do this. And it's unfortunate because you look down south, and that's not an issue down south. But the way Canada works right now, sports is a game in which you really want to play and make a dent, especially in Toronto. If you're not Rogers, good luck.
Unfortunately, that's the case right now, and it's like even if we were to like say hypothetically, even if Drake were to use all of his money and his clout to be able to get investors to like bank on a second basketball team in Canada, or I don't know, probably get like even to get like celebrity interest into like say sport in general, right? And like obviously it's happened in the States before, or to try and get like say a perennial Canadian athlete, for example, like say Vladdy when he retires, like could he have an ownership stake in the Blue Jays? Could he potentially say, if Montreal gets an expansion franchise, like could he have an ownership stake in that? Could he be the first active player to have ownership of another team while playing in the majors?
Well,
Right?
he can't. Yeah, that's
Obviously he can't, but like I mean,
yeah.
like he could give ownership to like his father, right? And like his father could have the investment stake in that. Like there's a lot of variables in the situation, and it may sound like I might not know what I'm talking about, but like these are particular scenarios that will come up in the situation, and it's like you're not sure what to expect or how to expect it in the first place.
But I will say as much though. I will say as much when it comes to outside the big four, outside the big four leagues, it is good to see that investment in the Toronto Tempo. That is where you're
Mhm.
getting investment in. Getting investment. Toronto is getting heavy investment in women's sports right now with the Kilmer Group, and we saw Serena Williams is a part of that group with the Toronto
Mhm.
Tempo, and that is big for women's sports in this country. To have Serena Williams involved in our first women's professional basketball team, that is huge.
No, that's significantly huge, and you know what? Like I'm very happy that she's doing this. You know what I mean? So obviously there is a heavily invested interest in say women's sports right now, and of course if we can see that within say other leagues, could we potentially have say new investors for some of the other teams that are currently winning right now? That's something that we have to really think about. So it is something that we are genuinely interested in. Of course, myself being a Leafs fan, a Jays fan, and a Raptors fan, it is something to behold in this situation because if this sale were to go through, you'd really have to look at the whole picture as a whole entirely, and try and see like, okay, where would most of the money be going to? Would it be going to the Leafs? Would it be going to the Jays? Would it be going to the Raptors? Would it be going to the Argos? Would it be going to Toronto FC? Like, you know, like MLSC has the possibility of owning like three teams in the Big Four, and with their partnership with the Bills right now, like it could potentially be a matter of time before, say, we have an NFL team up here.
You know, I know that's the idea that people, I mean, it's been an idea that has been floated about for literally generations. I can go back and find, and I did one time for an assignment, Dave, go back and find newspaper articles back to the 1950s that discuss the NFL in Toronto. Could be a possibility. This is a over 70-year thing that's been over 70 years that's been discussed. But again, the big thing is territory and space and the CFL. That's been the big thing is that there are so many factors where the NFL has said before they don't want to hurt the CFL. And where's a Toronto NFL team going to play? And how is it going
Exactly.
to affect the Bills and NFL team? Like, there are so many factors. I mean, could it happen one day? Sure. But the NFL and other shareholders have expressed that right now they don't want to hurt certain interests when it comes to putting a team in Toronto. I mean, logically, I mean, logistics, it would make more sense than a team in London
Hmm.
because you're right there. You could easily, I mean, well, not easily, but you could figure out how to swap around, say, the AFC or NFC East to add a Toronto team in there. It's a lot easier than what it would take to put a team in England or Dublin, Ireland.
Yeah. I mean, there are potential variables to think about. We do have to take a quick break. Of course, you're listening to the Third Intermission podcast. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Third Intermission podcast. Of course, we've got Dave and Avery here. Just continuing on with everything here. Of course, we did talk about the Blue Jays. We also talked about Rogers potentially buying MLSE. Speaking of MLSE, the crown jewel of MLSE itself, the Maple Leafs, uh, just getting home from a home and home series with the Buffalo Sabres, of course, picking up a loss in Buffalo on Friday during game one, and then, of course, winning in overtime, which would happen to be the night of game two. John Tavares, of course, sniping the overtime winner, leaping into the arms of Matthew Knies as the Leafs won 4-3. Of course, Joseph Wall just getting back into the fold, and of course, we're just waiting on him to kind of like say get back into form. Of course, obviously, we don't know what happened in that situation, but hopefully everything's all good, and we're happy to have him back in the situation. But like Avery, you've probably kept your eye on the Leafs over this past week. How do you think we did?
Well, that was this year was battling Buffalo. I'll say this much: I was big to get that win at home against Buffalo. John Tavares once again, overtime winner, and he still continues to be a guy that's finding ways to be effective in Toronto's top six, aging like a fine wine. And Matthias Michelli stepped up with a goal in that game as well. And Dakota Joshua coming in with a big goal in that game. I think again, we said last week, we said before, you can't lose a division lead or a division crown within the first month of the season. So I did like the heart this team did have to bounce back and get that win against Buffalo. I did like the heart this team showed, especially when it came to Tavares and Dakota Joshua.
Hmm. And you know what? Like, obviously, we do have some young guns on the line that like we can potentially use towards like say a playoff push because like say if say a Nylander goes down or Tavares goes down or even McCabe goes down, we do have somebody that's readily available to be the next man up in this situation. Now, of course, going back to your point where it's like, oh, you don't win a division in say like a game in October or a game in November. I kind of beg to differ in this situation because looking at baseball playoffs alone right now, obviously it's a one-off, but like you could see potential where it's like say a single game could mean the difference between a division like a division spot or a wild card spot. And it's like you can't really sit there and say, yeah, most games are like just meaningless at this point. You know, it's pretty much every game matters now. And in those situations, like you cannot ignore that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And again, you want to find ways to pick up points against teams in your conference, especially Buffalo. Because the Sabres, I think now the Sabres are starting to get out of that funk a little bit now. Buffalo is a team; they're starting to finally look okay now. And again,
Mhm.
Buffalo has made the playoffs since the Xbox 360 was hot in these streets. They have not made the playoffs since kids were playing on a PS3. And right now, Buffalo is sitting at 4-1-1, which for them is okay. But again, I don't want to be fooled by a hot Buffalo start. We've seen before. We've seen before a hot Buffalo start and then they fall off. But
Exactly.
at the same time, again, but at the same time, in your division, you don't want to drop those points. You got to find a way to get those 2 points against teams like Buffalo, like against Florida, against the Wings, against the Habs. Like you got to find a way to get those points off these teams in the Atlantic.
Again, as I stated before, every game matters. And you cannot sit and say, oh, oh, it's just meaningless. It's just meaningless hockey. Don't worry about it. It's only October. Oh, it's only November. Oh, it's only December. Like, no, these games are significant now because it's like you cannot sit and ignore things like this. And it's like, oh, hot Buffalo start. Next thing you know, it's like, oh, okay, these guys have fallen off a little bit, but like these guys still get a wild card spot. It's because of the fact that, like, again, every single game matters, and you can't. I don't think you can ignore it at this point.
Maple Leafs team. I think this team, even though right now it's an okay start, I think more people thought this team would be more stable than 4-4-1. I think fans thought this team right now would be where Florida is. I don't think many thought they would see the Habs in first in the Atlantic or Detroit in second place. So it's not a terrible start, but I do think fans wanted more right now than 4-4-1.
Especially out the gate. And you know what? Like, if you're the Leafs right now, you got to sit and wonder, like, okay, how are we getting through this? How are we going to be able to deal with this? And significantly speaking, how are we going to bounce back from this? One of the other things that the Leafs have to worry about in this situation is the fact that like this team is not gelling as well as it should right now, especially with this, I guess, with the disappearance of Marner. But of course, Marner has his own issues to worry about in Vegas. At the end of the day, though, it's like this team has the capability of getting through certain things. It's just that do they lack the conviction and the discipline to do so?
Now, I don't think Mitch Marner was the glue holding everything together. Because
Oh, hell no.
again, you still have Nylander, you still have Tavares, you still have Matthews. I don't think
Exactly.
he was that glue. But if this team wants to use it as an excuse, or if other people want to say Marner was the answer, I'll say no, he wasn't. I mean, yes, he performed, but he wasn't the answer because the Mitch Marner Leafs, or Mitch Marner when Mitch Marner was on the roster, this team still didn't get past round two. So
Exactly.
this team's gonna have to they have to figure it out because yes, it's only 9 games in, but you're gonna have to eventually start to figure things out because again, we already know it's already known it's known well in hockey where you know who the pretenders and the contenders are by American Thanksgiving.
At least. And if Toronto doesn't figure itself out soon, it's going to become a much bigger issue where, say, potentially Toronto just falls on its ass and we end up missing the playoffs for like the first time in however long.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think they'll miss. I think this team is too good right now to miss the playoffs. But
Hmm.
again, this is a Leafs team that has to find a way to again. You lost Mitch Marner, but this market will not accept a first or second round exit. This team will not accept this team taking a step backwards. I mean, and the fans shouldn't accept that because you've been promised a new era. You've been promised progress for how long, and you still have not gone out of round two in so many years.
Exactly. And I think it's time that Toronto finally steps up and figures themselves out because I know for myself, I'd be a little pissed off with the fact that we haven't gotten past a second round in years. And now it's like, what are we doing here? Right? So, essentially speaking, if Toronto does not figure it out by like say within the next year or two, like obviously we're going to be removed from the Stanley Cup very, very shortly. And two, I think a lot of fans are going to be extremely pissed off to the point where it's like, I don't want to cheer for this team anymore.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what this team does because the Leafs stepped up. Sorry, the depth stepped up. You've got more names. I know Nick Robertson got his first goal of the year, but
Hmm.
we'll see how things go because you're gonna need all hands on deck to really have a deep run this year in Toronto.
For real. And you know what? Like, if you do not, and again, if you do not have the ability to find out what the hell you're doing and say pinpoint your issues beforehand, it's a wrap. Like, sure, wild battle for a wild card spot, but like, I don't know if this Toronto team can actually do it if they don't figure their stuff out by like, say, the All-Star break or the Olympic break.
Yeah,
Or
but
sorry, no, the All-Star break because there's
break, yes.
no there's no there's no Olympic event this year,
All
obviously.
Star event. Yeah, they scrapped the whole. Yeah, they even scrapped that media day event. It's just yeah, the league realized because it was mentioned before that the NHL kind of realized that again the players didn't want to do an actual All-Star game and the Olympics.
Mhm.
So the media day got scrapped because like, the NHL realized that it would be too tough because their whole plan was to have all the Olympians there. But here's
Mhm.
the problem with that, Dave. They realized you're asking international media from, say, Sweden, Finland, Switzerland, Germany to come to New York and then fly back to Europe for the Olympic Games. That makes no sense.
No, it doesn't at all. And you know what? Like, I think it was a smart decision for them to scrap it. Although having a nice tune-up before the Olympics would be beneficial. So, of course, that is something that we are going to have to keep an eye on. But ideally speaking, it's like this. Toronto has to figure out what they need to do and how they need to do it within the next few weeks. Because considering the fact that you have coming up, you have the Flames on Tuesday, you have Columbus on Wednesday, and then you have the Flyers on Saturday. And of course, folks, game 7 is Saturday. So, I mean, like, will any Toronto fan be watching the Leafs outside of a potential game 7 clincher at the Sky Dome? Let's be honest here. We're still calling it the Sky Dome. When the Jays win their third World Series in franchise history. I may sound delulu right now, but you know what? Minakir. I want to see another ring.
I
But
mean, you should want that. You should want to see ring number three.
exactly. Um, Very interesting thought did come up though, especially on the score earlier this week. They were posing this question to the fans, and I actually want to pose this question to you while we still have the ability to.
Mm.
Um, would you sacrifice, or no, let me rephrase that. Would you rather see the Jays win and say Montreal win another cup? Or would you rather see the Jays lose in the World Series and see the Leafs make a cup final?
You know what? As the outsider, I am gonna say the Habs. I mean, I'm gonna say the Jays win and the Habs a cup. I know it's a Leaf show, but hey, again, the Jays right now, to me personally, they're at this moment, they're uniting more right now.
Exactly.
The Jays in the World Series for all of sports, is more relevant than the Leafs. Again, if the Jays win this World Series, it will be the Rap Parade again. You will have millions in the streets if the Jays win this World Series.
You
Even though
mean
it's
when,
gonna,
not if.
yeah, like, okay, when, like, even though it'll be cold, even though it'll be colder out, even though it's not gonna be summer out like the Jays, like the Rap Parade was, people will not be going to work for a Jays World Series parade. Are you crazy? There'll
I
be no work
I
done.
know I'll be in the city for that. It was like, listen, if I have to skip work for that, I don't care. I'll skip work for it.
Like people are not getting work done for a Jays parade.
Exactly. They weren't getting work done for a Raptors parade. That's for damn sure. But it's like, again, I posed this question to some of my friends when we were watching game 1 on Friday night. And a lot of them did say that they would rather sacrifice the Jays win for a Jays World Series win for a Leaf Stanley Cup. And it's just like, guys, you can't be doing this because, particularly speaking, you should not be sacrificing one for the other. For first off, and second of all, it's like it just seems extremely redundant to do that. Or sorry, it seems extremely reductionist to do that, and it's kind of insane to put that type of pressure on a franchise because it's like the Leafs obviously have not won a cup in however long, but at the same point in time why throw away one franchise's success just because the Leafs aren't doing well?
But also too, in the situation, the Jays right now have shown you they can get to a World Series. They can play for a championship.
They should be able to. And you know what? Like, I mean, this team has proven time and time again that they're capable of doing that. Now, of course, game 7 against the Mariners last week, um, a lot of Leaf fans were kind of a little concerned, and a lot of Jays fans were extremely concerned that Vladdy came to work in a Matthews jersey, and not just any Matthews jersey. It was the assistant captain Matthews jersey, right? Surprised he still had that in his closet. One of the craziest things is that, like, when right after the Jays had won Game 7, it was like, oh, the Leaf curse is broken. The Leaf curse is broken. You know, a Toronto team's won a Game 7. It's like the Raptors have been winning Game 7s for how long?
True.
And yet still the Leafs haven't done anything. So I don't know where this whole self-sacrifice genre got involved in this particular situation, but like as a Jays fan, a Leafs fan, and a Raptors fan, I don't buy it, you know, and it just sucks. So obviously, you know, the Leafs have a good 3-4 games coming up this week. We know they're going to be sharing the spotlight with the Jays and the Raptors this week. Excuse me for 1 second.
Yep. As Dave had to bust out one hell of a sneeze.
Sorry, folks. It's the weather changes out here. Like 1 week we were going from like say 19, 20 degrees to like say -3. That's a pretty sharp drop. And like
That is.
people are getting sick out here. So obviously the amount of alcohol and the cheering for the Jays doesn't help. But like,
Jeez, this guy.
All right. Moving on. Really quickly, we have noticed that there has been a firing in the NHL. It looks like as the Washington Capitals assistant coach Mitch Love has been relieved of his duties. So you know what, Avery, I'm gonna let you take this one.
For those of you who might have heard earlier in the season, Mitch Love was placed on leave by the Washington Capitals in NHL, and he was also, which led to him being suspended from his duties for the Washington Capitals. And he has now been let go. As it's come out, there has been a domestic abuse allegations that have come up towards Mitch Love. And of course, people, if you know Mitch Love, he had been up for head coaching roles in the NHL, and he is now being suspended for a full year after the domestic abuse allegations have come out. And the Capitals did their own investigation. The league investigated Mitch Love. And what I am glad about is that the NHL has taken this seriously. I am glad the NHL and the Capitals have taken this seriously and have said Mitch Love will no longer be working in this organization, and he will not be working anywhere in this league for at least the next year. I'm glad the NHL was proactive and they took steps to ensure that Mitch Love is no longer involved with this league.
And you know what? That's it's a very positive step towards say a little more retributive justice when it comes to domestic violence in the NHL. Because like we've seen in the last few months, if not years, a lot of domestic abuse cases and domestic violence cases within say the public sphere of the NHL. Of course, the most recent one being the Hockey Canada scandal. And
Well, there's more than that as well too. There's also Milan
yeah,
Lucic as well.
yeah, exactly. And of course, some progress is better than no progress.
I mean, I hope it leads to eventually an actual plan because again, we said before, the NHL is the only league among the big four without an actual policy for DV. That
Hmm.
the only league. So, and again, we mentioned Hockey Canada. We have mentioned Milan Lucic, his suspension before for domestic violence, and other
Hmm.
players have happened. Of course, 2014 Slava Voinov, and the fact that there hasn't been a policy in place, this should be the tipping point. This should be the incident that says we need a policy and we need it in place ASAP. You cannot. Yes, I'm glad the league acted, but there needs to be a uniform standard in terms of what happens, like every other pro sports league in this continent, among the big four.
No, I fully agree. And you know what? Like, let's hope it does lead to that point. And if it doesn't, then like obviously we're right back at square one. But you know, again, some progress is better than no progress at the end of the day. So hopefully the NHL finally gets its head right, especially within this particular situation, and finds a way to find something a little more feasible, for lack of better terminology. Um, I do want to apologize for the error that I've made in regards to this situation, as it was my understanding that, of course, with the FBI doing a heavy investigation on a number of players, including New York Yankees shortstop Anthony Volpe, of course, who's been playing like trash all season. Now we understand why. Of course, the NBA allegations with Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups. Um, it was under the impression that, say, he was also involved in the situation. So I want to apologize for that error real quick. All right. Ending on a good note. Uh, we have an NHL debut for the Buffalo Sabres,
Your calendars,
or
Dave.
the New York Islanders, excuse me. I still have Buffalo on my mind right now, which is kind of weird. But in any event, player by the name of Marshall Warren made his debut with the New York Islanders recently and managed to get himself an assist on the Anthony Duclair goal against the Flyers recently. This was back on Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, excuse me. And of course, Warren being a player of color. This is this is something significant right now. And this kid happens to be a hometown boy as well, from Long Island, which is really, really cool. Avery, how are we feeling about this?
I love the fact whenever I see two black players on a goal or on a scoring play, that's fun. That's fun to see. And Marshall Warren playing for his hometown team, getting a point early on in his NHL career, that's amazing. He originally used a Minnesota Wild draft pick, played 4 years at Boston College, played a year at Michigan, spent a few years in the Islanders farm system in Bridgeport. And for him to get a call up like that and get a couple of points immediately in his NHL career, I love seeing that. I love seeing our young brothers thrive when called up in this league here, Dave.
In all honesty, it's really, really cool to see that. And of course, just looking at his debut video as well on Twitter right now. Homeboy just really rushed past his goaltender, knocked the pucks over, and took his first skate as the team was getting onto the ice. It was really cool to just see him just take a couple laps, take a couple shots while no one was there, and of course with fans just like literally just celebrating the fact that he was just on the ice for the first time and his teammates are just joining him. It's like it's really cool to see that. And you know, to have a hometown boy just come out and of course just just do the damn thing makes me really happy.
Yeah, that's a blast. We're gonna see more guys like Marshall Warren making their debuts. We're gonna see more of that come out and be celebrated because again, we're seeing how the hockey, the sport, the NHL, it's for people that look like you and me, and to see more of these kids make their debuts and more kids on both sides of the border, both Canada and the US, it's great to see.
It's extremely great to see, and you know what? Like we want to see more of it. Could we see Harry Nancy finally suit up for the blue and or for the Leaf Den
You
with
know,
for the
give it
next?
a. That's the thing we're gonna. You know what? That'd be great to manifest in a couple of years. That's the thing I want to see. I want to see in a
Exactly.
couple of years that Harry Nancy Leafs debut.
Is he still currently playing for Owen Sound right now, or is
Yes,
he
he is. So he's still no one sound.
all right? I mean, I would like to see more players of color, obviously within the NHL. Um, I wonder how our boy in Winnipeg is doing.
Mm. Mr. Isaac, yes. So Mr. Isaac Phillips. Right now he's in the AHL right now with he's in the AHL right now. But Isaac Phillips, he's doing all right now. Mr. Phillips right now it's for the Manitoba Moose.
Hmm.
Right now he's got 2 points in 6 games. So we'll see about Isaac. We'll see if Isaac can work his way up to the Jets main roster. We'll see.
What about our homie in Chicago right now?
Which homie?
I forget his name.
Oh, Ty. Oh, you're talking about Ty Henry.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, there's a few names out there we've had connections to the. So Ty Henry right now he's got seven right. So Ty Henry right now. He's made his debut yet with Erie. I know he's in Erie right now, but we're trying to just find out what's up with Ty Henry with the Erie Otters.
Hmm.
A real Right now, yeah. So Ty he hasn't played yet for Erie, but hasn't made his debut yet with the Otters. But when he does, we'll keep you posted though on Mr. Ty Henry.
Perfect. Of course, here on the Third Intermission podcast, we like to not only chronicle players of color, but we also like to celebrate players of color. And I think this is a very significant thing. So, of course, we're going to keep our ears to the ground in this situation, especially when it comes to these particular players and of course other players of color, because we want to give them their flowers not only when they're retired, but also when they're alive,
Mm-hmm.
and say, of course, right when they're trying to get to the show.
No, of course. That's a big thing for us that, like we did this past summer, praising and promoting kids who are making their way up through major junior, the NCAA, the various levels of junior hockey. Like giving them their dues, tracking their careers from day one is a big thing for us at Third Mission.
Of course. And you know what? Like we're here for it, man. I mean, as Wu Tang once said, we love the kids. And obviously, no, it's still significant because like we want to see these kids flourish and become not only great hockey players, but also just great icons hope within the whole damn thing. So you know what? Like we're all for it at this point. And on that note, we are going to end off the episode tonight. Of course, I just want to say thank you to, of course, you, Avery, for coming through tonight. Obviously, the whole crew couldn't make it. Life happens, but you know, it is what it is. And we also want to thank you, the listener, for like taking the time to listen to us just talk shit for the last hour. So once again, always thank you for letting us create space in between your head top. We will be back with another episode next week. We will be dropping this on Wednesday, as there will be a Game 5 in the World Series. Of course, Jays will be in LA by the time this thing drops. Hopefully, the Jays will be in a proper position to potentially win the whole thing. And if not, like I said, Game 7 is November 1st. Do with that what you will. If say there is a potentiality that say the Jays win in 6, then we might have something dropping for you come November 1st. If not, we will have something dropping for you say later on in the month. Of course, folks, we do want to actually say this right now. We're officially unveiling this before this episode's done. We will be posting video. We will be doing video episodes going forward in November. And our other surprise is that we will be doing a live taping of Third Intermission podcast, as we will be watching a Leafs game with you folks. Yes, we will be watching a Leafs game with you guys. We're introducing a segment called the Season Game of the Week, where you basically watch hockey with two black dudes. Yes, it is a very weird concept, but you know what? We're gonna run with it anyway. We don't care.
No, why is that a weird concept? That's not a weird concept. We're not calling that weird. We are not calling that weird.
All right, fine. It's a fun concept.
There you go.
Obviously, we want to hear from you folks, and we also want to hear from other hockey fans as well. And you know, obviously, as Chance the Rapper once said, let's do that hockey. We're gonna have some fun with it. It's gonna be all types of colorful. So, anyways, like I said, thank you for letting us grace the space in between your head top. We'll be back next week. Until then, drink your water, mind your business. Let's go Blue Jays. Deuces.